Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it.
Yo, hey team, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back today with Naya Depths, a little bit of a blast from the past. We haven't seen too much Naya around since a lot of the Depths builds have been relying on the green-white mana base with somewhat of a splash in colorless, either for Urza's Saga or just more utility lands that don't typically tap for green or white, so things like Talon Gates of Madara, which has been a pretty fine inclusion in Depths. Probably its best deck, I would say. Elves is pretty close because you also have Reclaimer to go and find it, but having both Reclaimer Knight and Crop Rotation I think just really shows how good Talon's is, and honestly could be a second. The only reason I didn't go for a second is that I did want to play Maze of Ith, which I kind of see as a nice removal spell against Frog, which obviously needs to connect to do some damage. And yeah, I think Maze has been a pretty nice addition to the deck as a way to increase your lane count for Mox Diamond, but then also have some other ways to deal with threats. It also has some pretty nice upside of being able to untap your own creatures post-combat, which is obviously a really nice benefit with cards like Reclaimer and other Reliquary that do have activated abilities. Hey FGC, welcome. Hope you're well. Thank you for tuning in. And then the splash is really light, let's be honest. It's just for 2 Minsc and Booze, which did see a lot of play when it was first announced and released onto Magic Online, and has kind of just backed off a bit, especially since Orcish Bowmaster has come into play. Orcish Bowmaster deals with the 1/1 Red Hamster. It also deals with the Neg ability in some cases where, yeah, you're probably getting rid of at least a 4/4 hamster, so it's probably going to finish off the Minsc, which is pretty brutal. And then the sideboard, I think Pyroblast is pretty well positioned at the moment. It deals with Frog, of course. It deals with Murktide. It also allows you to have some sort of counter magic against some of the other blue decks, so I think 2 is fine. 2 Path I still like. I've been finding a lot of blue-black pilots have been going for their basics in games 2 and 3 early on, just to make sure their mana is nice and stable against a Wasteland deck. So Path a lot of the time is just a better Swords to Plowshares. However, there are definitely matchups where Path feels horrendous as an early removal spell. Think Death and Taxes, think other Maverick decks, Elves, any sort of Elves versions can be really tough as well. So Path does have downsides, but sometimes it can feel really nice. Moloch, I actually don't think is that well positioned because it just doesn't kill Frog. However, it does kill a lot of other stuff, so I'm pretty happy to see it in the list, especially seeing that it deals with Harbinger of the Tides, which I've been having a bit of trouble against, mainly because of probably my time in the format since the bannings. I haven't had too much time against it, so I'm not too familiar on when to expect it. A good example of that was in my matchup with, I'm going to say, I believe it was, I think it actually was Depths, and I was playing against Bug Beanstalk, and they brought in Harbinger, and I was like, wow, I really thought that if I was in a Harbinger deck, I would bring it in against you being a 3-color deck. So that really got me. That's a great point, Martin. I would actually love to try out Deafening Sphere. I do like, obviously, that Deafening Silence is a 1-mana spell, but Sphere hitting Eldrazi, which you do see a lot of online, I'm happy to make that trade and see how it goes. I also feel okay with Blast being somewhat of a turn 1 interactive spell against combo, but if you're thinking of like Ant or Test, there's not many cards that Blast actually hits that are relevant. But yeah, I think Sphere's pretty nice, and obviously hitting Eldrazi is really nice as well, which I've been running into a lot on leagues, so I think that's a really good one. That's pretty much it. Let's get into it and see how this performs. Play points, Naya Depths, nice. gameplay. There we go. Very cool. Yeah, starting a little bit later tonight, so I think that a Depths deck over a Maverick deck just makes sense to get, hopefully, done a little bit quicker. But I do have some pretty sweet Maverick lists to finish off from patron That Maverick Joe that look a little bit different to the norm, which is really cool to see. And I'm a big fan of. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a turn 3 Minsk, which is kind of cool. We have one piece of the combo and also crop rotation for Karakas, which is pretty nice. So I actually don't mind this. The question is, do I even want to lead on the Mox Diamond? Or do I just want to lead on Taiga Pass? I don't mind holding the Mox until I know which land I want to get rid of. Prismatic Ending doesn't see too much play, but that's a great reason to think about, you know, should I actually play out this Mox Diamond on turn 1 or leave it? If my opponent thought seizes me, is it really the Mox they're going to be taking over the crop and the Minsk and Boo? So I do like keeping, and I think it's the Taiga that we will play out, just because if they try to Wasteland us, we can just crop it away. But I like, you know, I would say Prismatic Ending and maybe Charles for 0 if our opponent plays out, you know, Charles for 1, Charles for 0 if there's some sort of stompy deck that thinks that's going to hit us. But yeah, I think the hidden information is a little bit better. Cloudpost. Okay. So one thing to think about here is a lot of Cloudpost decks have been working towards Elvish Spirit Guide versions, which means if I untap and Wasteland the Cloudpost, if they then just Spirit Guide crop Cloudpost into another one, they then get to untap and use that Cloudpost in their turn. So I think what we'll do is just pass back with the Wasteland open. I mean, Knight's a really nice pickup. But do we want to deviate? Let's have a quick think here. So we could play a Knight, which would be a 3/3, which isn't too bad. If we are playing the Wasteland out, we're not really developing our mana, or developing our board, I should say. The only issue is that we do have a Wasteland here that our opponent doesn't suspect. But if we play the Knight out, then our opponent most likely suspects a Wasteland incoming at some stage. I don't mind if we Wasteland this turn, take them off the post. I think just because they don't currently have a green source in play, I'm happy to play it a little bit slower. We can, yeah, I would like to upkeep, take out the Cloudpost. I think I'm going to also be getting rid of the Dark Depths. I feel like they might have once there to also try to find a Spirit Guide, which makes me think they do have a crop in hand. Because I don't think there's a reason otherwise to once in response to Wastelands. That's actually a really good sign that, hey, kind of like Sudoku, I love Sudoku, and I feel like that play just makes me think that they definitely have a crop rotation in hand. Okay, Deeps is cool because I do want to pitch the Dark Depths to the Mox Diamond, and the Deeps just gives us another copy of that, which is nice. So let's go Plateau, cast the Mox, get rid of the Depths, play the Knight. Okay. 2/3 mana. Green Suns. Okay. Interesting. I do like that at some stage Green Suns for Ramunap will be a really nice way to close out this game. I could also just go for Ramunap right now by using the Knight. I don't mind that. So Echoing Deeps comes into play tapped. So if I want to play the Minsk, I have to use the Knight for the mana. I don't have a way to waste and also Minsk. Ah, I've actually never come across this. I've never come across this. So you can choose for it to... Interesting. So only you may have Echoing Deeps enter tapped as a copy of any land card in a graveyard except it's a cave in addition to its other types. But you can say no and it will come in untapped. Wow. Okay. That's pretty sweet. That is a really good learning point because that is actually a major interaction in Legacy. Wow. That is a really nice thing to know. Thank you, chat. Chat is always right. How can anyone think differently? All right. Let's get rid of the white source. I kind of want to have 2 greens. The next turn I can potentially Green Suns and also crop. Take out the Cloudpost. There's the Spirit Guide. And there's the crop that we thought about. I wonder if they go for Karakas here, potentially to keep the Boo off the field. But if they go for Karakas and wait for upkeep, we can go and get our own Wasteland, make them use the Karakas, and then choose if we want a new one or not. There could be the version running the new card as well. That is kind of one of every type of land. I forget its name. True. There it is, Planar Nexus. All right. Pretty crazy that we actually have lethal next turn. Because if they do nothing, we get to untap, make this a 7/7, and then we also just have crop our own land to make this bigger, but then also chuck. We don't even need to use the crop. We could use the crop for, yeah, that's pretty amazing. Okay, so we're up against a post deck where, hey, look, the Dampening Spheres are already coming into play, which is nice. I don't mind the swords. The Safekeeper, I don't really think is that great. The Bog can come up if they're playing Ramunap, but typically I'm pretty happy to take it out. We also have the Endurances as a just in case. Although I would say that giving them back the lands into their deck when they have so many ways to find those lands isn't as great as exiling them as a be-all end-all. The Minsks are still nice, maybe just the one. I'm kind of thinking that I want either the Ouphe or the Force of Vigor. Ouphe more for the ring if they're playing that, and then Force of Vigor for things like Needle, or if they're playing the Flash Needle for 2, Disrupting Flute. But I don't want to make too many changes. I'm going to have a quick look at Legacy Cloudpost. Okay, so there is a list here. that has the Reclaimers, Sowing, which I think is a really nice card to fit into Legacy Post. We have the Baubles, which I reckon they'll take out 4 flutes, 3 rings. Okay. Well, I think making sure we don't get hit by, like, Wasteland's obviously our best card, so the forces are nice, but the Dampening Spheres also somewhat hit their mana, which is nice. Surgical is always tricky because Surgical on, say, Cloudpost is okay, but you do need to have those at the same time, and only having the one Surgical can kind of put you with. There's a lot of positions where I've brought it in, but it just hasn't lined up, and the Surgical's kind of been like made everything a card deeper in a way that I try to avoid that sort of strat. Yeah, I think I might just cut an Endurance. I think it might just be the one as a just in case. Sometimes Endurance yourself is also nice, but the Wasteland's back in your deck if you have something turned off. Like the Ramunap, no access to that. Okay. I kind of like this hand. We have Acceleration, we have Instant Speed Crop, we have the Reclaimer as well, and then Liberator just in case they have something like a, an early flute. But yeah, Spirit Guide is a great reason to typically Wasteland in your opponent's upkeep. Especially if you think that they're going to go and get a Cloudpost with that. Oh, okay. Let's go for... I think I'm actually happy here to go Mox, pitch the stage, and then play the Liberator, and kind of force them to play something next turn, or else flutes can get a little bit tricky. Getting the Reclaimer online is nice as well, but I don't mind where we are. Reclaimer being able to find Wastelands is nice, but... See, if they play a flute, it's kind of nice because it kind of forces it. I assume here it's just going to be Wasteland. Cool. One small thing here is that I do not want to play Dark Depths because I can't create Dark Depths, but potentially my opponent can if they either play a green source and crop rotation for stage or play a stage. Definitely start with attacking. And then we do have to remember as well, we only have 3 Wastelands in this deck. So other than recursion through things like Echoing Deeps or Ramunap, we really need to make sure the targets count. I think here that playing Reclaimer is better than flipping the Liberator. So let's just go Deeps, copy the stage, play Reclaimer, and then hold up a mana for Outland Liberator. Okay. That's going to be fine. Did we bring in the Collector Ouphe? We did not. Probably an oversight. Now, there is a world where I kind of just want to go for the depths. Obviously, it's then open to crop rotation into Karakas. But it's not the end of the world. I'm happy here to just, you know, let's see if they let's make them have it. Green source and also crop rotation. This also flips the Liberator, which is kind of nice. It makes the Reclaimer a 3/4. That's pretty good, because this also finds Karakas. Yeah, which is pretty brutal. Now this is pretty interesting. I think I'm happy to attack with both. And then go after their mana. Could play the Talons and just get rid of this. Okay. If they play a Yavimaya, we have crop, but the question is, do I want to take them off the green source they currently have? I don't want to say I don't think I'm going to win through Karakas, but you never know. I'm going to pass here. But they are drawing a lot of cards. I am going to copy green source in Boseiju. Interesting. What are they up to? Maybe, no, I was going to say use Once Upon a Time, but they can do that anyway. Feels like a crop rot? Yeah, maybe they think I need the green source. Which is kind of nice. Like, to me, that's kind of like always activate your vial. Like, it makes your opponent do something which, you know, they might not have to do, or... Yeah. Okay. It's pretty interesting too. Keep that on top. There is a line where we can potentially get there with taking out the Karakas. Interesting. Just the chump block. Maybe they have like a crop rotation for Bojuka Bog. Okay. That's going to be fine. The question is, do I want to save the Reclaimer? No. I feel like the ring is just drawn a bit too much now that we have to rely on our opponent making a misplay where they tap the Karakas. We also have that Wasteland on top, so you never know. Going to discard. Okay. The Echoing Deeps is in the bin, so I don't believe they'll have another copy of Karakas to get. Oh, they have their own Wasteland. There's a world where they can like endurance themselves and then crop rotation for it again. Oh, they're floating white. Interesting. That's probably just because they want to float something here. Four mana. I would assume as well they run their own Talons. I believe the Wasteland's just a one-of as well. So I think I'm just going to try to end-step crop. I assume they have another ring which will replace it, which will then of course give them protection, which is a little bit rough, but... Ah. Okay. I would love to be able to Orum's chant in response to them drawing off that. That'd be pretty funny. Ooh, Ulamog. They have crop rotation open, but is that enough? I guess we'll find out. Okay. Surely not. Surely we didn't just steal it. Surely they have a crop and then they can crop for something. They probably play a Talons here. You would have to imagine. Even like triple Spirit Guide into Wondering. There's a lot of things here that could go wrong for us. What isn't going wrong for us is that I'm going to grab some water. I'll be 1 second. Boom. I didn't count that, but pretty close to a second. Opponent could also, yeah, Endurance themselves, evoke, and then crop rotation for the Karakas. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I think younger Dukes would have definitely like just given up there, but yeah, opponent saying this couldn't find another ring, which is really tough. Which can definitely happen, yeah. A lot of stuff, but yeah, opponent really nice about it, which is cool. We're on the board, which is nice. Post tricky as well, especially the newer versions of Spirit Guides for crop rotations at instant speed, and then also the ring can be quite hard to keep up with. All right, I don't mind this hand. We have some early interaction if we need it with endurance. We have swords for removal. We have a little bit of ramp. We're on the draw. Where are we keeping this? All right. Oh, they thought seized us. Yes, okay. That makes sense. For a second, I thought, oh, they're thought seizing someone else. Interesting. The Mox Diamond. They take our card disadvantage. That makes me think they have a Wasteland? I guess we'll see. I'm going to play the Karakas. That's like, it's the land I care about the least. The Yavimaya is kind of a dual land because it gives green to both itself and also the plateau for the endurance. The plateau, I think, you know, just not showing the card we drew without having to play it is really nice. Apologies. Ah, okay. Taking the Mox makes me think they have a Wasteland. Take the Minsk. That's fine as well. Okay, so it isn't going to be a Poxy style list. I mean, Mox off the top here would be great to be able to have the endurance for flash. That's not too bad either. We also have the swords up for opposition agent if they run it. And just being able to go and get the Lush Portico is quite nice. They go for the bridge, which is interesting, over the Wasteland, which I don't mind. Get the Lush. I wouldn't mind finding my own Wasteland. Safekeeper here isn't doing a whole lot. Other than playing around an Edict effect, but then I'm not getting down the creature anyway. Okay. Flagstones is pretty sweet. Okay, interesting. Really don't care about Tabernacle at this point, which is nice. Oh, there's the Mox. And that's pretty sweet. Yeah, this looks to be Pox. So the Mox is nice. We get to get rid of the Plateau, play the Yav, and that gives us the ability to sacrifice the Flagstones for value with the Knight, and also hold up the Endurance. So I think here we're just going to pass to their upkeep. Yeah, okay. So I think here we want to get rid of the flagstones, trigger. Probably go and find the Savannah. And then with this, I do like getting the Wasteland. And going after the castle, taking them off double black is nice. Hey Morax, welcome. Hey Sheru. The question is, do I want to play the endurance here? I don't think so, because they can just instant speed edict in response anyway. That's pretty interesting because it takes them off the mana for the tab as well. Do I want to target either of us? I wouldn't mind the Minsk back, because Minsk is actually a really nice way to deal with the bridge as well by just flinging over it. And honestly, like making the knight smaller as well is kind of cool. So the knight becomes a 2/2 and then a 3/3, and then we get to attack for 6. Also hold up swords with one of the mana. Yeah, happy to pay for these. That's really interesting. That actually worked out really well. So have a quick think. I think I like attacking with both here while we have the opportunity to attack. Do they find a land? Innocent Blood, okay. They're still on 3 cards, so I'm pretty happy to get rid of the Reclaimer. And then just keep hopefully attacking with these. I'll attack with the endurance. Oh, they have 2 cards. Okay. Apologies. I'm going to get rid of this Urborg. Really want to try to keep them off as casting as many things as possible. Another Urborg. Makes sense. Okay. Now we're a little bit stuck. But so are they. They're not doing too much either, which is nice. Haha, okay. That's pretty interesting. They're still at 2 cards. It's tough though now with 4 mana. If they're drawing a land, they're playing it. If they're drawing a spell, they're probably casting it. Maybe another Wasteland here. A fetch land off the top would allow us to cast them. I guess it wouldn't because we still have the Tabernacle in play. Okay. They're not going to Wasteland us. That's really interesting. Going to allow us to use this mana. I will play this as a mana source. does nothing. I'm going to tap like this so they can't Wasteland us off a white source in my turn, because a land off the top, especially a land that allows me to play the Minsc and Boo, is pretty sweet. Okay. That takes 1 mana. So we won't crop just yet. Ghost Vacuum. Okay. For those who don't know what Ghost Vacuum does, it is a new 1 mana artifact. Tap, exile target card from a graveyard, and then for 6, sacrifice it, put each creature card exiled with Ghost Vacuum onto the battlefield under your control with a flying counter on it. Each of them is a 1/1 spirit in addition to its other types. Activate only as a sorcery. Pretty cool. I almost want to bog myself. Huh. Or just grow the Minsc. How big can I get it? You still have 2 cards. Hey J Danger, thank you very much for the Prime sub. A huge thank you. Hope you're doing well. Let's have a quick think. Yeah, I wouldn't mind using my mana this turn. Crop this away. Have the white floating for like a opposition agent. Go and get Savannah. If I get a... Interesting. If I get a Wasteland and Wasteland myself... Okay. Let's see how this plays out. So I do want to keep the Endurance around because of sacrifice effects. I can still get the Minsc into play though. Quick think. I could just throw the Boo right now and draw a card. But I don't want to leave the Endurance back, get it removed, and then lose the Minsc, so... Yeah, I'll still tick up the Boo. That's also something to think about with the math. If I went to 10 and then sacked it, they could remove a land in response to make it just 9 and not lethal. So I want to keep the creatures. I don't care about Wasteland at this point, do I? They have the factory to block. Yeah. I think we'll see. If I get to attack with the endurance. Okay, still 2 cards. I'm going to start with the sack. This is fine. Play a land. Cast a Mox. Pitching stage. And then honestly, I could nearly go for it again. They can only exile. They have 1 card left. They can only get rid of 1 card. I could try to play this Minsk and then throw this Knight. But I think we're just winning this anyway, that I don't need to do that. Sack and find. Sack and get a fetch, I guess. Chat, I'm going to leave it up to chat. Chat, what do you think? Do we just go for it here and throw this Knight at their face? Someone said bam, so I'll take that as a yes. Nice. Keep this one. Yes. Sack. Yes. 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 Nice. Mono-Black. To be fair as well, our Pox opponent didn't really draw a whole lot there, so not too much for them to do. I like the Force of Vigors. Yeah. Pretty funny. Pretty funny. I think it's going to be the Maze of Ith. Quick think. Like, Morlock is interesting, but I'm not too sure what I'm really hitting. Yeah. Like, Bowmaster, but... I don't mind going down on a Wasteland. They do typically run a fair amount of basics. I did have Veil of Summer in the board, but... pretty sweet hand. Happy to keep this. We have access to the combo. You know, turn 1 Reclaimer, turn 1 Hold Up Swords. Access to both basics if that's relevant. Okay. This to me makes me think of just opposition agent, so pretty happy here. Okay, well Mox changes things a little bit. Let's cast the Mox and get rid of the Bog. Let's play the Windswept Heath because it could be Dryad Arbor. And then let's play Reclaimer. In case we need the Bog, we do have Echoing Deeps, but I assume they're not. Honestly, I'm pretty happy to get rid of Dryad Arbor here. Because next turn we could potentially just Echoing Deeps Dryad Arbor. Or they might have Crucible. Yeah, very true. They could definitely have a Crucible. Green Suns. Honestly here, I am still thinking about like Ritual into Agent that I don't think I need to Green Suns here. Play the Plains. Please, Liliana. Oh, no. Okay. Nice. And now they're tapped out, I'm happy to go for Green Suns for another Reclaimer. Oh, that's so true. I could have gone for Talons. Yeah, that's definitely the right play. That is 100% the right play, and I love that. Yeah, kept Talon in. Damn. Chat with the plays tonight. Okay. Discard, sack. Saga's pretty good. If only this tap for mana. Maybe dropping a Wasteland was a bad play with if they are playing Saga, and I should have known about that if they're playing the 1 mana artifact. All right, deck. That's pretty good. I think Wasteland them here is... Oh, they're going to make a construct. Interesting. Yeah, I don't want them getting something off that Saga. And we have a lot of draws to be able to turn on this Loam, so that's nice. There is a reason to keep the Depths in hand for another Moxen. They have 1 card left. Okay. I think you're actually just like using the swords on the factory. Taking them off the land as well is pretty huge. Oh! Alright, it's an old school race. Interesting. Ah, we get to... Oh, we don't want a Loam though, because we want to get a land. Okay. I guess if they have something like Innocent Blood. Nice. There we go. I didn't need to attack there, but I think that's okay. Okay. We'll go for Lush. Oh, we're gonna put them in the graveyard, and I think we're gonna get Echoing Deeps, and then we're gonna copy their Saga. So we are going to Loam. Let's bring this baby up here. We are gonna Loam. Play the Loam, getting back Echoing Deeps, Dryad Arbor, Stage. Play the Echoing Deeps as a copy of their Saga. Nice. Okay, now they have a Saga. I think I'm okay giving them one token. I mean, we also just have Dark Depths open now. I don't want to go for that at sorcery speed because of things like Smallpox and also Innocent Blood. But I'm happy to make them have it. Nice, okay. Yeah, a few things I definitely could have done better there. I've definitely done the slow ice counters and then just been blown out by like a Wasteland on the last turn. I think I have done it once and it's worked out at least once. Especially once you start, like you're usually playing anywhere between 28 and 31 lands. So you do typically just like hit your land drops and then get to a stage where it's like, hey, I can take off 3 a turn. All right, on the play. Nice. I'm playing this deck for the first time next week, and it's my 3rd time playing Legacy overall. I'm pretty excited. That is very cool to hear. I love hearing that sort of story. Okay, so I don't mind this hand because we have a pretty nice setup of turn 1 Green Suns for Dryad Arbor, turn 2 a few options. We could Wasteland them, and also Green Suns for Elvish Reclaimer, which is nice. I'm happy to try out this hand. I typically like to keep a hand that has like a Swords or a Mox, but I think this is fine. It also does have, you know, Ramunap and Wasteland, so if our opponent is slow, we do have that going for us. But yeah, I think Depths is a great deck. I think it has a pretty decent matchup against blue-black, but you need some things to go right. All right, we're off to the races. Yeah, I'd say it's quite weak to the fast combo decks. That can be a bit of a struggle. But I would say that most most green white sort of fair decks do have that issue. Doomsday, yeah, Doomsday is very interesting. Doorkeeper Thrall is quite good against Doomsday. Wasteland is actually quite good as well, where they might not see it, especially like twice in a turn. But typically Doomsday is a very challenging matchup. I'm just going to go for a Green Suns for Reclaimer here. I'm just a little bit worried about it being a combo deck, and I like having something like Bojuka Bog online. I didn't use the Dryad Arbor because I want to attack here as well. I don't like showing the Wasteland when they've played a basic. Really want to see a bit more than just that. And these are definitely the scary starts, where we can't interact with their mana. We don't have a swords for the troll. They didn't shuffle either. Okay, that's nice. That does make me just want to pass with the Reclaimer open. I think getting Maze of Ith isn't too bad here. I will go and get a red source in Plateau. And then go and get Maze of Ith. And then here I actually just like... Ramunap like this. Replay the flags. And try to move towards a Marriage. They could be thinking about like Fatal Push, like potentially fetch, Fatal Push, Ramunap, then Wasteland the Maze, get rid of it. I would say it's pretty close. I would say there's three ways to winning. There's winning through Marriage. There's winning through your green creatures or your typical beaters, so like your plan B. I would say my plan A. I typically like to play mid-range and then with a combo finish instead of combo deck with a mid-range finish. And then there's kind of the cheese wins of like, they couldn't be Deafening Silence. They couldn't be double Wasteland. Collector Ouphe got there. So there's kind of three ways to win. I would say it's, in my experience playing the deck, probably 40% Marriage, 45% mid-range plan, and then 15% like cheese them. Maybe 20% cheese them, maybe 40-40-20. Okay. So they really want to get in here. So we are definitely untapping this. And then I'm happy just to go to no blocks and see if they discard. They don't. I think getting Marriage online is more important than stopping them from a card, so... Hey, True Hero, a huge thank you for the raid. Hope you went well. What did you play? And how did you go? And hello all of those from True Hero stream. I'm Diggs on Twitch. I usually stream pretty fair decks. I would still classify this as a fair deck, which is Naya Depths. mid-range deck that plays around with a lot of land cards, and obviously has the combo finish of Thespian Stage copying Dark Depths to get in with the 2020. We are getting Stage here because it comes in tapped. A crop rotation effect would be fantastic. I mean, a swords isn't that bad either. The question is, what do I want to do this turn? Like, do I care about the Underground Sea here? I do like that we have the swords as kind of backup. 2 mana here. So if I get rid of a Savannah, I could also replay the land. Like, I think what I'll do is make it right now. It means they can use their mana on our turn, like a Brazen Borrower, but at least we get one land back as well. And then we do have some, you know, some hedge in swords and also Maze of Ith. Tap like this. Get rid of Savannah. Go and get the depths. And then right now, maybe, it actually doesn't. I'm going to play the Wasteland, because if they play Wasteland, we can Wasteland them to start the interaction at least. Brainstorm's fine. These are definitely the matches that I'd like to go back to, or at least do a little bit more of going back to matches and watching them. Because there are a lot of lines here. Like, I see the advantage of going for the combo now to play one piece out of the yard, most likely the stage, because you need to tap it and it comes in untapped. But it's close. We don't have a token generator like a Saga or an Orcish Bowmaster that Abzan sometimes plays, so Sheoldred's Edict is pretty good as well. I'm trying to think of like sorcery speed interaction. Like, is there a reason not to make it in combat to block a flying Psychic Frog? Pretty similar cards though. Okay. I would assume they fetch for the Surveil land, but they don't. Okay, they really want that top card. Ooh, okay. Not the worst, to be fair. So obviously we don't have access to Bojuka Bog because of Reclaimer, but we do still have Karakas in hand to get rid of the Atraxa. Another one. Okay. I mean, they still have to tap for these. Okay. Well, that is all fine. They chose Ponder, Wasteland, Animate Dead, and Troll. Entomb is still okay. Sure. So we still get to tap the Dryad Arbor for mana. And now we can just make the 2020 as well, which is nice. Let's get rid of the Dryad Arbor. Very, very close. I guess like Pro Black still works with the Sejiri Steppe, which is nice. Yeah. I was just trying to think of like Pro Black and Pro Black does it, which is quite cool. Yo, it's a great little hole to get out of. Nuts. Yes. Yes. Who would win? Like some of Magic's most powerful creatures or a plane of land? Very cool. Sideboard's always interesting. I like a mix of these. Choke can be okay. Minsk and Booze are probably a little bit whist. Hey Mox Sky, welcome. If they hadn't tapped their Wasteland for mana, you could still waste their waste and make Merit in response, right? Correct, yeah. That was a big reason why we didn't go off on our turn, because with the Wasteland of our own, we could initiate it all by wastelanding their own Wasteland and then make them have to, say, Wasteland one of our lands and, yeah, go from there. If they were tapped off a Wasteland, then I would definitely go for it in my turn, because then if they play another one, then it can get a little bit tricky. I like those. The Safekeeper I don't like. I don't think that the resource of a land is worth trying to save your Merit Lage. Crop rotations are pretty good, especially for... I think crop is still great because it both allows you to win the game and stops you from losing the game. The Knight's going to be a little bit clunky. The Minsk and Boo's going to be a little bit clunky. The Liberator can come out, like it hits Animate Dead, but I want to stop it. I want to stop them before they can actually get something into play off Animate Dead. So it could just be a Moxen, to be fair. But I do like the chokes, but let's have a quick think. We have a lot of removal, which is fantastic. So if something hits the field, we still have answers. We have ways to stop them from getting things into play, which is great. The Loam can be nice as well with the Moxen to get that card advantage back. I don't mind going down on a Flagstones, and it's probably just another trim on a Knight, to be fair. Yeah. I think on the draw, I just don't have the time for choke, that I'm going to be a little bit defensive here. Okay. have a few. The mana's a little bit tricky here because it is, of course, 3 colors in a deck that does have a lot of colorless spells, but there's no real reason to mulligan this. Okay. In this matchup, I would say the blast is typically for Frog. Not so much for going after their cantrips. Potentially for a Force of Will on a really good threat. I don't want to play into Daze either. And I think just because of mana here, I want to play the Karakas first, then play the Mox, get rid of the Depths, and then we have the Stage as a 3rd land as well, which is quite nice. But the nice thing here is that typically opponents, I reckon we're just going to see a Swamp here, which is fantastic for us because Path to Exile post board pretty much just means this Frog or this Path is actually better than the Swords, which doesn't typically happen. I don't believe lists play more than 1 of each basic, so I'm actually just going to try. So actually I'm going to Swords here, and it's because I'm gonna win this match through combat damage, so putting them back to 20 is great. I wouldn't want a Swords like an Atraxa and gain them 7. I'd much rather Path that or a Troll, to be fair. So I think Swords here is pretty fine. And I think if they try to fight over it, they'll probably pitch a Daze, which is nice, which means we can then blast back. Okay. Ramunap's nice. So there's a few things we can do here. We're definitely playing a land. We could play the Ramunap and just play it out, but we're not getting value off it. I like playing it next turn, potentially. We could also just turn the Stage into a swamp right now, so they can't be wastelanded because it's a basic. But because we have the crop, I'm pretty happy just to pass a 3 mana open, which means we can play 2 of these around Daze, which is still pretty great. Yeah, Dampening Sphere in the board for Eldrazi. It was another player who actually brought it up as just a good thing to try out. Martin. We had Deafening Silence in that slot, which obviously a little bit better than versus combo because it is 1 mana, comes down turn 1, but I do like the flexibility of Dampening Sphere being both for combo decks and also decks like Cloudpost, which we faced in match 1, and then also Eldrazi. Street Wraith. I did not expect Street Wraith. Very cool. So if they have an Animate Dead here, I'm probably happy at just pathing. Because the crop is so much more than just Bog. Crop could be for Dark Depths, it could be for, Wasteland, it could be for a few things, so. I mean, Crop for Maze essentially does the same thing. It doesn't play around their own Wastelands, but there's a few things there. So again, we're just going to keep creatures off the field. Nice. And again, no basic, which is pretty fantastic. Just gonna... Okay. Here, I actually like playing the land first. Like, I am a pretty safe player, so I do like, making sure I don't play into Daze. Even though I'm not getting value off the Ramunap here, it makes Wasteland on their side a lot worse. We can potentially protect the Ramunap, which is nice. went for a shuffle. That's pretty big. There's a troll. Okay. So now we have a few options. We could try to crop rotate, which blows us out a little bit. I actually don't mind just allowing this. We're still at 20 life. Next turn, most likely we get to play the Depths from the bin, which leaves us with a mana floating for either crop rotation or blast. So I think here we're actually pretty happy at just passing back. I mean, Maze is pretty fantastic. We'll play the Depths. Cycle another troll. I'm going to play into Wasteland. I'm okay with that. I'm going to attack with a troll. That's fine. And then happy to see what they got. It could even be like play a frog and then try to give it flying. The one card here that's quite hard to play around is Sheoldred's Edict. Oh, Gilded Drake. It is a flying creature, which is interesting. I'm just going to allow this. Interesting. They allowed us to untap, which makes me think they don't have... yeah, they don't have anything. Yeah, nice. Very cool. Okay. I was not expecting Gilded Drake, but Gilded Drake, I respect the tech. Gilded Drake is very cool. Yeah, nice clean record. I think it helps having the I win button, and I think it helps tonight. I'm just taking things a little bit slower and just trying to talk about my plays a little bit more. One issue I definitely have when streaming is, and I talk about this a fair bit, I'll make a play, and then after that I'll discuss it, and then we'll find out that there was a better line. And what you should do is discuss the play first before you do it, because you might come across a better line. Pretty nice hand. We have acceleration with a great use of Dryad Arbor. We have early removal, an early Reclaimer if we really want that. So pretty happy to keep this. And hey, a huge thank you to all of you for coming in and watching. I very much appreciate it. Hope you're all having a great week. Don't say Eldrazi. Wizard. Oh, okay. Interesting. That's pretty cool. I mean, Karakas is kind of nice off the crop here, but is that really what I want to be doing? They can't daze, which is nice. So that's definitely something to think about. Hey, Evan, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Very nice to catch you here. Tamiyo is an interesting one. I haven't played against Tamiyo enough to know if I really need to care about it, but I do know that it is something that can really get away quite quickly. I like getting that turn 1 Reclaimer. The only thought is, if they are a bolt deck, by waiting a turn, I do get a 3/4 Reclaimer, which is quite nice. But I'm happy to make them have the bolt if they're a bolt deck. Let's go for Savannah and then get this Reclaimer out. I mean, a force wouldn't be too bad either. Like, Master of the Pearl. Is this a Merfolk? It's a Moonfolk. Now that is funny. That is funny. That is hilarious. But hell yeah, cool to see Merfolk back in the Swift of things. Interesting. So they must be a Merfolk deck that's also playing. I would assume you play Brainstorm if you're playing this and you're playing blue. Not typically a deck you see in Merfolk, but yeah, really interesting. Okay. I think at this stage we're happy to just play the Knight. They're on 3 cards. It's a really aggressive line of like Swords, Tamiyo, Wasteland, the Cavernous Souls, most likely after they've drawn a card, but not too scared of this, like a bounce effect. Oh, a wizard. Oh, maybe the tap down one. Okay, interesting. Game still in the mix 100%, but this is definitely where I've found Merfolk a few times where I've played it in paper, in that you play out your hand and then they have 2 cards left. I guess they have the clue tokens, which is kind of cool. You can keep drawing, but that yeah, it does take a bit of mana to do. Tide. Okay. Not too bad, as we do have the crop rotation to get rid of it. Oh, okay. I wonder if it actually, do we keep the ability? No. Wow. Another swords. I think we're happy just to pass back here. Yeah. Really interesting. Definitely love a person trying it out. Let's have a quick think. We have a lot of time here. So this creature, sacrifice a Merfolk, counter target non-creature spell that an opponent controls, let's pay 1. So currently we do have the combo open, so I'm just going to lean into that a little bit. I could definitely... So the crop rotation is 1 mana, and then we need 2 more for the actual combo for the stage, which means we do have 1 left over for potentially them countering the crop to save some time. I'm happy to untap. See what they have. Okay. So I think now's a great spot. Tap this for a blue. Fetch first. I don't want to show the red because obviously Pyroblast out of the board is pretty sweet for this matchup. So if I can hide red at all costs, I'll be pretty happy with that. Morlock as well, pretty nice. But again, another creature that Morlock just doesn't really interact with off Green Suns. Crop this. I guess we've also given them like Force Negation space, but no. All right, let's get stage. Let's get depths. Dark depths. Okay. Keep this one. Okay. Maybe the tap down, maybe the bounce. What's this going to be? Oh, okay. It's pretty good. But to be fair, we still have a 2-turn clock in play. That's a pretty great pickup. Nice. And the reason that I didn't play the Reclaimer first is now we have Sejiri Steppe next turn just to get through for lethal. So they don't get the chance next turn to shump block, most likely. And we're still at 18. Like, props to the player. I love some of these cards that I'm seeing out of Merfolk just to see different things. But Merfolk, typically an aggressive deck. This is turn 5. We're at 18. Now they're trying to, like, yeah, clue out of it, draw some cards. But with 1 mana up, I'm not too scared of many things. Yeah, unfortunate. Really unfortunate. I think one card that would have been really nice is Aether Vial. Because I think Aether Vial with the clues coming is really cool because you get to use the vial to put in the creatures that you hopefully find off the clues, which you use your mana for because you got the vial going. So hopefully we see a little bit more fight in the next game, which I think we definitely can out of Merfolk. I still think the Morlock's worth it. I think the endurances we can cut down on. The Ramunap, I'd probably rather the Ramunap than the Loam, just because it is also just a 2/3 body creature. The Safekeeper early on is pretty sweet. The Bog can most likely come out. I don't want to choke my Merfolk player. They've got enough battles to fight, and I don't want to like just overboard as well. I still want to keep in some things. I like the Moxen, especially being able to hold up blast. Force of Vigor is interesting, but I think just having the Liberator is good enough. Very true. Oh, that's actually a great point. So I would assume Harbinger of the Seas is in the 75. So Choke turning everything into islands is I guess Harbinger turning everything into islands is pretty funny. It could just be a land for me, honestly. And I think it might just be the Karakas. I guess Karakas does deal with Tamiyo somewhat, so take that back. Apologies. I'm going to cut the Yav. There aren't a lot of times where I'm like, damn, I really wish I had another Yav, but having one is quite nice. But I really want to see a hand of like 3 lands, 4 spells. Pretty close. I'm pretty happy with this. The Dryad Arbor, a little bit tough, but as a 6, I would keep this. So Having like turn 1 Reclaim is great. Path is just a bit of a backup. They're probably a Dismember deck, but you never know. This Windswept also allows me to go for a basic if I really want to, but I'm pretty happy to go for a Savannah to make my mana a little bit better. And then potentially use the Windswept for a basic, or get rid of one of these bad boys. Ah, the dark side, I see. They kept as well on top. Can you imagine if they just went Entomb, Exhume? That'd be brutal. Okay. Okay. I think it's just going to be Plateau here to get that red splash going. Also holding up Path. But at this stage, I'm not entirely sure I would Path at Tamiyo. I think if they played a Lord, I'd go after that. Quick think. Like, what are the chances they actually just don't play anything this turn or just hold up the mana for the clue? Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. I think with a deck like Depths, where you only have so much removal, you really got to pick your battles. And honestly, them not building out to the board and holding up the clue, I'm much happier with. Excuse me? When an ETBs tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it, and then you can shuffle it and target creature with a stun counter on it into the owner's libraries. That's kind of cool. And it's a Merfolk. Okay. Nice. It's pretty sweet. They are a Force deck. Are they a Daze deck? Like, I kind of want to get the Dryad Arbor into play here, which I think we will just do. Like, Harboring is not the worst. It actually is the worst, but we have some outs to it. And their mana as well isn't really supporting it. I guess it is. It's not a back to basics, it's like a blue blood moon, so the mana base is fine. Has indestructible as long as you control at least 2 other Merfolk. Well, sadly, you have a Moonfolk. Whenever it attacks, draw a card. Other Merfolk you control have Ward 1. Other Merfolk you control have Ward 1. Okay. I'm happy to try to get rid of that. Okay, a Force isn't too bad here. Nice. Oh, that's actually quite nice. We get to go... Land for turn. Cast the Mox. Probably get rid of the Echoing Deeps. Let's have a quick think. Yeah. Play the Talon. Oh, we've already played a land. Of course, sorry. And then tap like this to play the Knight and then hold up the Path. This being a 6/6 as well is very relevant against a deck that I assume would be playing Dismember. So I think if they attack, I'm just not going to block. Okay. That's fine. I am gonna pass here. I just want to use my mana efficiently. And it is like something that I do care about somewhat. All right. Pretty happy just to pass here with the combo open and also Reclaimer. Yeah, nice. So we actually have protection as well. Anyway, welcome. Hope you're well. I'm glad you've been enjoying pre-modern down in Melbourne. That's very cool to see. Crack a clue. Crack a clue, sure. Tameo does flip. Do I care about that? I don't think I do. Let's have a quick think. No. That is more than fine. Yeah, pre-modern is a fantastic format. This is more than fine. Because essentially, like, what is our fight? Our fight is to save our Marillage, and we can do that, thankfully, with the Reclaimer. So here, I'm actually just going to get rid of the Dryad Arbor. Oh, what's this? Maybe some sort of like stifle ability? Or dismember on this one. Huh. With only one left. Float a mana here. I mean, they're also at 10. So can we just not go for the Dark Depths? We get -2, so we have to attack for 12. But we're pretty close, right? Yeah, like what if we go for, what if we actually just go for, let me have a quick think. Sejiri Steppe and protect this. Hey, Rob Job. Pro Black. Wow. Interesting. All right. Well, we can try. Right. Hey, BRGODOYBR, good morning. Good morning to you. Very glad you could catch this stream. I very much appreciate it. I very much appreciate each and every one of you, especially those that have stayed from True Hero stream. I usually, look, I've been pretty inconsistent these last few months with streaming, but I do love a Thursday night and a Sunday morning stream. And I also have next weekend another Green Sun Summit, which is pretty sweet with a ton of different players. So if you like Elves, if you like Depths or Maverick, you'll definitely like the weekend. Off the top of my head, we have Tony Murata, aka Interplay, Cloudpost player, Hallow Newton, Elves, Connor False, Harry Hackett, Michael Mapson, Dreadnought33, aka John O'Yannick. It's going to be a great time. Connor False, 4-color Loam, who can forget? No, that's wrong. Apologies. One more. Interesting hand. We have... I'm actually not a big fan of this hand because it has the early endurance as a just in case, but the mana is really tight here and we don't have a great turn 1 play. So I'm pretty happy to mulligan towards like a Reclaimer hand. This isn't great either, but it's probably better than a 5. And we can bottom the Minsk and try to move towards a Island. Ponder, okay. Yeah, turn 1 Dryad Arbor, turn 2 Knight. Finding out that Deeps comes in untapped if you don't use its ability is pretty sweet. Okay. Honestly, here I'm pretty happy just to get my basics going. Build out my mana. One deck I haven't run into in a long time is Delver. Which is really weird. Any sort of build of Delver, even like the non-Delver builds of Delver. Pretty happy just to try to slam a Knight here. But I'm a little bit worried about this, like, you know, end step Brainstorm, potentially a Miracle. Yeah. Which is kind of a sad time. Like, I do love the classic Delver matchups. But it just hasn't been a thing as of recent. Okay. I think here, if we don't draw another land, Flagstones is actually quite nice. So here I will attack the Narset, so they can't keep it around, and play the Knight. Sadly, game 1 we don't have something like a Gadok Teague in the deck, like you might see out of Maverick, but Naya's going pretty well. I will say the mana does feel very tight. So you really have to think about your mana. Like I would say probably green-white is probably the better version of the deck right now. Just because of the mana. And there's no real need to splash red. Like I would say most things you're going to Pyroblast, you can just Path to Exile right now. And you can play, you know, Deafening Silences and other things for the more combo style decks. So obviously Minsk and Boo for this matchup is quite nice, but it's just a case of trying to find it. I think here I like not using the Echoing Deeps just yet. Sadly, we can't Green Suns for Reclaimer and also hold up Endurance. They're also nowhere near Mystical Sanctuary just yet, which is good. Or Mystic Sanctuary, I should say. So let's go for... Do I want to show the Plateau? I kind of like Echoing Deeps getting Windswept because then that gets Lush, which gets me a little bit more play on top of what to go. Safekeeper is also pretty interesting. Especially with the Flagstones in play. Yeah. It's tough because it might seem like a small thing, but I really want to attack with the Dryad Arbor, but have another green source for the endurance. Just because of back to basics, I'll tap like this and I'll go for the Reclaimer. Safekeeper just yet doesn't do enough without an actual threat in play. I will play the Plateau. I wonder if they're like a 4th or a Lingus deck. There could be a Triumph deck. This feels like a Supreme Verdict if they're going for double white. Oh, no. It still could be Wrath of the Skies. Okay. That's fair. Come on, Minsk. There's one time to show up. Honestly, if there's one time to show up, it's just then. The stage is actually quite good because it can copy the forest to give us another green source and another basic, which is pretty relevant. They could also be thinking about our crop rotation here, so potentially not tapping out on white. Okay. I think that's too much resource, but there are definitely times where you can stage for the Flagstones. It's a great way to actually get Reclaimer out of bolt range without using the step, if you want to try to get 2 lands in the bin off a Reclaimer. Force. Okay. Force is definitely a tricky one. Okay. Play that, and then we are just going to play the Endurance here. I am thinking a little bit about Mystic Sanctuary, so I am going to put this back into the deck. Potentially also Snapcaster. But I would like to see how they win the game, just to know that. We're also going to copy this forest. And just 6. You do, but I think losing the stage is what I don't like. Like, just because it can be so many things. But this could just be a 4th. Okay. Definitely a challenging matchup. The chokes will help and the pyroblasts will help. I think time is of the essence here. So I like the blasts, I like the chokes. There's not a whole lot more. I probably don't mind a Force of Vigor. Happy to take out the Moxen. The Maze. I like the Talon. The Mox are like nice sometimes in the early games, but the Wrath of the Skies has really changed it, I think. Like, I don't think Surgical is really hitting anything relevant. The Morlock isn't. Yeah, Teague and Safekeeper are really nice. Funnily enough, I took the Teague out last minute forward to try the Morlock, but Teague, another, you know, great answer to Wrath of the Skies, which is nice. It's going to be a Wasteland. Yeah. I think that's pretty easy. Yeah. This is definitely a matchup where I just want to be able to like play my lands, cast my spells, and this hand just does not do that. Okay. Keep this. I really want to keep the 3 lands, but it's interesting. It could be the Force of Vigor here. Yeah. Surveil land, which does run us into like a back to basics, but we don't have too much more. I think the Surveil is much more necessary than getting the basic. Okay. I'm just gonna put that in the graveyard. Don't really want to be seeing a land here. Okay. Interesting. Chose to not shuffle. Happy just to throw down the choke. Force, sure. I honestly like just trying to jam the Dark Depths next turn. We get to then untap and just play the knight anyway. Interesting. Forest is nice because we can copy it with the stage, or we could copy the planes. I don't mind copying the planes. I guess get a red source in play, you could also do that. Interesting. definitely a downside to dropping the Mox in, because you still obviously have the lands. Okay, it looks like they're brainstorm locked, unless they're going to Lorien revealed, but they're also at a stage where they could just draw 3 with Lorien, which is pretty brutal. I think now we're at a great stage where I will copy the Flagstones to go and get Lush, but then keep the stage. I totally misread that that interaction, because you can't just keep the stage version. They also have like hardcast Force of Will up here. Ah, the Lush is here. That's kind of lame. We'll get the Plateau. All that thinking, it just goes out the window. Okay. Crop's kind of interesting. Guess we can try to make them have some sort of interaction. Interesting if they tick down. No, they don't. Okay. That, yeah, like that most likely shows they have prismatic ending, but it would be interesting if they were just trying to bluff by ticking up, but I don't think we have much to do. Like, we can't just keep waiting, especially with our green suns. Not too much we can do. We did draw a crop. Could have maybe done something with that. But I definitely miss like a Sylvan Library style effect, but obviously the prismatic endings can deal with that. Okay. Interesting. There we go. Tough. Definitely a very challenging matchup to get above, especially with Wrath of the Skies in the builds now. But overall, pretty happy. We went like 8-0 running up to that, which is pretty sweet. But sadly, yeah, Jeskai got in the thick of it. Deck was sweet, yeah. Like I would say the Morlock wasn't great. The Morlock just isn't really well positioned right now, and you have to naturally draw it to really get rid of some of the main spells in there. So yeah, I think that I do love mana. I love my mana bases. So I think if I was to go to a tournament, I wouldn't change my current green-white list in paper. I wouldn't go towards the red splash. I would just keep it as green-white, which I think is really powerful right now. And I think a great choice for Eternal Weekend if you are playing, especially if you know the deck. Having a deck that just has an I win button for long events is fantastic. And having a deck which has a lot of utility with things like Green Suns and Crop is also great. So I would love to see a Depths deck make it into the top 8 of Eternal Weekend. At least one of them. I would assume one will make it into Japan, but I'd love to see what happens in Europe and alike. But yeah, I do miss card draw a little bit. Like the Loam is nice, but we do have Ramunap as kind of a green sunnable Loam, so potentially like where we had that and having a library would have been interesting to test out, but that's where we are. This also still says Absent Maverick. I apologize for that. I'm going to see who else is streaming and send you all over there. A huge thank you to the new followers and the new subs. And obviously a big shout out to True Hero for the raid. It looks like Gabe is playing some Pioneer, which is cool. So I'm going to send you over there. But a huge thank you once again. Have a great week. I'll be back maybe tomorrow night. If not, definitely... Actually, maybe tomorrow night, because it won't be... I got a wedding this weekend, so no Sunday morning stream. So yeah, always a pleasure. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much.